Okay. Oh, no, you can't see that. That's not good. Let's see. Yeah. What do you think of this quote? What do you think of this quote? That quote. We kind of already touched on some of this before. I think this is where Roy was coming from. I think this is where Chris is kind of coming from a little bit. Um, I guess I want to suggest that 2005 is a long time ago. There is now, with web development and web design, no sense that you have to learn a programming language or understand HTML or anything like that. That you can create a website and probably have without even thinking about it in those terms, using tools that are intuitive and quite easy. For example, if you use Google Docs and you write a document with somebody else, whatever it says, you can publish it to the web just with a button, and it becomes a web page. It's not a huge heck of a lot more complicated than that. Tools for web design are easier and easier all the time. So maybe we can have the best of the content and also the design without going back to school to achieve it. Meanwhile, and this is a year ago, but you can see here, law firms with websites, obviously bigger law firms, absolutely. Solo practitioners, it's very nearly 50-50, have no web presence whatsoever. If you're like me, then you hesitate to hire anybody for anything if you can't look up something about them online. I don't know. That's how I kind of investigate things. I think certainly, it may be different depending on what your profession is, but if you're doing professional work and you have, you're just so-and-so Esquire and there's no information, then there are going to be a certain number of people who will turn you off right there. And then you might not have the best looking website, even if you do have one.
Those markers?
I'm not exactly sure. But, this is actually, this is not representative of much because, you really can't see it. It's so much better than this on the dark screen. Let's see if we can do this. Can you see a little better now? I mean, it's kind of like, it's not just a law practice, it's a way of life. It's a whole vision. But I mean, this is better in the sense, at least I get something from this. And maybe I'll connect with that. But a lot of the ones that are out there are just static web pages that are old and kind of outdated and look sort of crappy. So we'll see if we can do something better in a short period of time. Various different sources for doing some of this work. The one that we'll talk about is WordPress, and WordPress has different flavors. Okay, WordPress.com is the free WordPress. I mean, you can sign up and get a website up online for no money of any kind. And then additionally, you can pay for certain kinds of options, but we won't worry about that. WordPress.org is the kind of unrestricted, fully realized, entirely customizable, most powerful version of WordPress. The difference is that WordPress.com runs on the WordPress servers They host it for you, and they give you the options that you can play with. WordPress.org is software that you run on your own server. So you would get a host, a web host, and you would load the software on the web host server, and you would customize it any way you want. So there is some additional cost associated with this, but there are way more options and way more things you can do with it. WordPress.org or WordPress.com are great sources for finding out all kinds of information. WordPress is an open source platform for web development. It starts, its core, it's a blogging platform, but it's developed into all kinds of things. As a matter of fact, wmitchell.edu now runs on WordPress. I don't know if you consider that a good thing or now you're not interested anymore, but there are a lot of big websites that look all kinds of different ways that don't look like blogs, is what I'm trying to say. And you can find tutorials like crazy. Tens of thousands of users, very active community, all kinds of questions can get answered. If you were going to do it yourself, if you're going to go out and practice law and you wanted to create a website, if you go to WordPress.com, they'll say, sure, great, what do you want it to be called? Where do you want us to put it? And by default, you'll have, you know, something like awesome new blog or whatever you want to call it. My law firm site .wordpress.com. I think that's fine for a class. I don't think that it's a good idea for a lawyer. You probably want your very own domain. And so you can see there's a bit of a cost here. So if you're going to start your own practice, and you don't have to pay $17 a year, it could be $10 a year, it could be less depending on different factors. But anyway, you could go to GoDaddy or one of these other ones and register your domain and associate it with WordPress. And then distribute your URL, whatever you want it to be. Either some variation on your name or your practice area is usually the thing that works. Here's some examples of companies that will host. What a server is, if you don't know, is it's a computer that's designed to take an application and make it available to many users, potentially many users. And in a corporate environment or something like that, you probably have servers that are housed and maintained on site. But web servers are housed anywhere, and very few people who have websites actually have a server in their office or in their back office or in a cabinet somewhere to host their web server. Most of these websites are hosted by a company like Bluehost, and there are hundreds and hundreds of them, and they're pretty cheap. Where it gets expensive is if you have, if you're one of those websites that has a ton of traffic, and none of us are talking about anything like that. These cost about $10 a month or something like that for web hosting. And again, this is in the WordPress.org environment now. We're talking about if you're out in practice. This is not what we're going to do in this class. We're going to work with WordPress.com because it's free and you can just get started right away. But it's not like you have to buy a server and download anything. It is you sign up for your monthly fee with Bluehost or one of those others, and they'll just walk you through an instruction set that looks like, mylawfirm.com, you put that in there, and then it will walk you through the installation process. Moments later, you have your blog. This is kind of what a WordPress site looks like when you first start out. Again, this is just a basic blog. Almost every bit of this is customizable. But that's what it looks like. There is a website, even without you having to do anything. And then you start tinkering with it. WordPress.com has maybe 100 themes or more that you can use for free. Themes look like, let's see if I have any examples. Well, if you go to WordPress.com or WordPress.org, you can see there'll be a full list of themes. And each one will take the same content and just shift it around with different colors, different image headers, different number of columns, whatever you like. So you can find a theme that looks more professional or one that's maybe designed for more image-based work or something that's just sort of a straightforward blog theme. So we'll go through that. WordPress.org has thousands of themes. WordPress.com has probably about 100 that you can choose from. So here's the blog. Okay, when you log into the blog, you can see your login choices will be here. You'll go into something called a dashboard. Spend an hour with WordPress and you will start to feel comfortable with the dashboard. It's like any piece of software. It's confusing at first and then it's not. And it doesn't take that long. You'll have posts. You'll have uploading of media. You'll have defining of links if you want to have external resources. You'll have pages, which are like these menu items, separate pages. You know, if you want to have, you can structure it in lots of different ways. If you wanted to post something, for example, and this is something now I'm going to ask you to do for homework, is to add a new page and call it about this firm or call it something that is descriptive of what you're trying to accomplish. And I want you to do that sooner rather than later because it will help you to define for yourself what style choices you're going to make. And so, for example, it might be something like this. You might imagine yourself as a student in this class as a practitioner working on a general litigation practice, and you can write something up about that, something short. Or it could be whatever it is that you actually do, or that hopefully it's something related to what you plan to do. That'll make it easier as we go through the course too, because you'll have other opportunities to talk about something that's already familiar and will be potentially helpful to you as you move forward. So we're going to define our practice areas, and then you just post it. You publish it, and here it is. Okay. This is quick and dirty, and here we've changed the title of the page as well. And one of the things that you can do among many is add contact information. So here's a new page for contact information. You can embed media into your site. So one of the nice things about WordPress is that you'll start to notice these embed codes throughout the web. They're all over the place. And if you never needed to care about them, then you just might ignore them. But when you have a website, you can grab content from wherever you are on the web. So if there's a YouTube video that you think is illuminating or might be beneficial for your users, you can just grab the code and then just dump it in WordPress and it will pull it in and make it visible. So for example here, and this is not, I'm not doing this because it's a good design or anything, but it's simply just to show you what it looks like. You dump that code that you pulled right out of Google Maps, and in it goes as part of your contact page. And, you know, you can tinker with the look and feel of it, but this is interactive, just like the website's not a screenshot or anything like that. It's working with Google to do that. It's kind of fun. There's all kinds of things you can embed. Media, tag clouds, maps, obviously, videos. Here's a good example, and something we'll talk later in the semester about for sure is what about YouTube as a marketing device for your practice? And I've seen some pretty compelling testimonials from lawyers who essentially get up and do these 10-minute videos about something they know really well. They just start with a webcam, but you could get much more professional with a decent camera and like just halfway decent lighting, and talk for 10 minutes, and it drives traffic to their practice. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google, which owns YouTube also. So if you think about it that way, and if people really are using YouTube that much, which they obviously are, then it makes a difference if you come up on the first page for the video that says dissolution of marriage, Hennepin County, Minnesota. People look for information where they're comfortable, and people are comfortable on YouTube. You get clients that way. Change the photo, the header, also on the dashboard. And we'll talk at some point about appropriate places to pull photography and stock images and stuff like that. You don't want to be a lawyer who's using copyrighted media. But embedding things is fine because you're just taking it from where it's already published and interacting with it. If you grab this screenshot from somewhere and it's not okay for you to use it, then you could get in trouble. And it's just a bad habit. But you could choose, I mean, this is Sean and I did this. This is our CLE design. We just wanted to make like a quick law firm website. And this is just to illustrate, you can find pictures. Oh, this is vaguely legal looking. Great. And we have we just added more pages. Like I said, there's contact, there's practice areas, there's resources, there's a blog, and there's home. Now, I mean, I may be overstating it, but it seems to me like this is at least as good as a lot of what's out there. And this is just the beginning. You can add more pictures. I'm Troy McClure. You can, you don't have to know this person, but, he looks like a good guy. He looks like a great attorney. Probably is. Here's where you manage themes. So we have that website, right? That's just a basic website that talks about Kannek and Fellhofer. And you can take this content and you can shift it around by using different themes. You go back into the dashboard, and under Appearance and Themes, you just select from the list. If you like something else, grab it, and it will shift the content around to look different. Here's a different theme. I can't remember which one this... Oh, this is used with... powered by WordPress. 2010 Weaver is the name of one of the WordPress themes, and that's what we're using right here. And you can see that what it basically did was it gave us rounded edges somewhere. It gave us, so this is all white background. Here's some gray, and the picture looks a little bit different in a box, and the font is different, and so on. We can play around. It's really not hard to play around and see. And here, this is an example of what you might do for this class as homework when you're going to create just the shell of a website. Really, what I'm asking you to do for the assignment this week is to go to WordPress.com and register for a site. Get the site live. Just follow the instructions to get the site live. You can do whatever you want with it, but the thing that I want to see is either practice areas or about this site or some indication somewhere that you have thought about who the audience for your site is going to be and what the topic is. And again, this could be, hopefully it's something that's near and dear to your heart or something that you're going to be doing anyway. And tell me about it. And it's as much for you as it is for me, because as you make choices, and Sean's going to come in next week and he's going to talk all about what works and what doesn't in web design. It's really interesting. And having thought about your audience and what you want to achieve will make that more relevant for you. And here's another theme. Okay. All right. Now, just show you a couple of other things. Yeah, I don't have slides for everything, but widgets. You know what? Maybe we should just. No. All right. I'm going to go live for a second. I'll show you an old site, and I'm going to build another one with you. We're going to use WordPress.com, and I'm going to sign in. So you're going to what you're going to do, and what we'll do for the last little bit of class, or at least get started, is just follow the instructions to get started here. Now, one thing I should say is that I hope that you can do whatever you want. You can make it anonymous. I think FERPA prohibits me from saying you have to put your coursework up online in a public way. I do get that. I think in the spirit of what I was talking about before about trying to discover your digital voice and identity, that it's not a bad thing to do. And so if you want to, if you're comfortable doing it, then sign up and say who you are and what this is a class assignment and this is what I'm trying to do. If you're not, which is also fine, then you can just leave you can make it so there's no name, or you can make a very random looking URL, fake law firm account WordPress.com. Any questions about that? So I'm just going to log in because I have done a couple of these, and let me just see if I can. Here's right. This is from Advanced Legal Research, not this past fall, but a couple of years ago. I did a similar kind of thing, and I put a blog roll here and link to everybody's website. If you're interested, if you want to see what websites students have built for me and my classes before, I think most of these are still active. And you can go to simoncan.wordpress.com and you can click on some of these sites. There's a lot of them, I mean, they vary in quality, but they'll give you some ideas and they'll give you a sense of what you can do with WordPress.com with, let's see, oh no, his is gone. Let's see, is Lori's here? Yeah, this is Lori Donovan's. So she's got a certain kind of look about it. I think, let's see, Ellie, let's see if this is still up. Yeah. So I think her idea was to do something with trees, and we were doing more blogging exercises, but you can get a sense of what some of the options are. Now, one of the things that you can do with WordPress, if you go to your dashboard, and this is a screen. This is a live. This is working live with what you kind of saw with the slides. Is let's see, where's appearance? Down here in appearance, you can see some of the things that you can do. One of them is widgets. And when you look at widgets, you can get a sense of what's out there. So, for example, I have an RSS feed. And maybe we'll talk about that later. If you don't know what it is, it's just a mechanism that you can pull content off of other websites and have them feed automatically through your site. You can have widgets that do all kinds of different things. For example, here's a widget area with links. Like I showed you, the links was the blog roll area. This is my Twitter feed. Here are some bookmarks and so on, and those all filter in. So if there are sites that you use quite often, or if there's content that you think would be valuable to your users, you can experiment with putting a widget in there and then drawing from other sources, keeping in mind what you're trying to achieve. And you can see in the list of available widgets, you can, and there, a lot of them have to do with associating what you're doing with social media outlets like Facebook, and getting your message across. So, does anybody have a question at this moment? This would be a good time to ask. Yes?
Does it have to be like a law firm type website, or can you do something else kind of related to law?
Sure. Like what do you have in mind?
I don't know, for me, I work in corporations, so I don't really want to do like a law
Absolutely.
thing. But I am president of the student IP organization here.
Oh, good.
And I need to give my web designer some ideas of what I want on our web page. So
Perfect. So you can mock something up.
if I can mark it up.
Yeah, good. Do that.
Okay.
That sounds good. The same goes for any of you. You know, my preference is that you not do like, you know, a fan site for your favorite band. Although, you know, it could break up the monotony, you know, law work and still teach you something. But I'm going to talk myself out of it. Make it something professional that you care about. Because again, we're trying to, one of the things we're trying to practice is who are you, lawyer or, you know, business person or whatever it is that you are on the internet. What else? What other questions? All right. Well, in that case, what we're going to do is let's take 10 or 15 minutes and crank it up. I mean, let's, you know, while I'm here, you can ask me questions, and you can always contact me by any of the usual means if you want to, if you have trouble between now and whenever. But all we're going to do now is get your account started, see if you can get a site up and running, and start thinking about the options, navigating around the dashboard, trying a few things out.